Roguelikes, there is plenty of them, but what do I think are the best of the best? Well, let's go ahead and have a chat about it, and while we're at it, let's go ahead and rank every single one that I have ever played into a tier list, because why not? Sounds pretty fun. So do me a favor and comment your favorite repetitive ballbuster, and if they don't appear on this list, feel free to yell at me. There are definitely a few that I'm missing, and dear God, there are a lot announced coming soon. Roguelikes are incredibly popular, turns out. First up, Loop Hero, which is an awesome auto battler and management-styled roguelite where you quite literally walk a loop and craft the world around you, including the buildings, the terrain, and even the enemies along the path using deck-building elements. I do love me a good deck-builder roguelite, but I wasn't a massive fan of the idle nature, and I don't quite see the replayability in it, but it was certainly engaging on the first loop around, and for that reason, it's getting a really solid B tier. Playable Mock-Up is one of the more unique games in this list. It's a survival horror and deck building game where you traverse an infinite hallway called the Dead Soul Corridor. You do this by crafting a time manipulation deck to overcome the test the game gives you and break the loop. The game just kind of drops you directly into the action, and that in combination with relatively poor translation makes it a little bit challenging, but if you don't mind working things out, it's very fun. It's a bit light on the horror element side of things, but that dressing to its otherwise pretty standard roguelike expectations gives it a really high C tier. Cult of the Lamb. I mean, who doesn't love being a power-hungry cult leader / daycare host to an adorable bunch of annoying animals that can't feed themselves and shit everywhere except for where they're meant to because the toilet is overflowing with their feces already? Seriously, this game is a treat, and it's also made in Melbourne, which happens to be where I live right now, so a couple extra hometown points, why not? This game is like a mix of Hades in terms of its combat dungeon crawling and Don't Starve in terms of its survival elements. Not gonna lie, I would have really loved to see the villagers actually evolve and stop shitting everywhere, would be kinda nice. But nonetheless, it's definitely getting an A tier at least. Children of Mortar is a story-driven action RPG that follows a family of characters called the Bergsons as they develop into a god-slaying group of ragtag champions. I love the style of this game, the narrative delivery, and the development of the family unit, even down to each of their characters. The cast really reminds me a bit of Castlevania's Belmonts, which I found really cool. I played this one with my partner and had an incredibly fun time, and it definitely excels when you play it in co-op. However, it is entirely lacking a bit of build depth in the skill trees, and the replayability is probably not entirely there. But considering how much fun I had on this, and don't get me wrong, all games are a lot more fun when you play them with someone else, this one easily steals a solid B tier. Enter the Gungeon is a bullet-hell dungeon crawler where the heroes are searching for the ultimate treasure within, a gun that can quite literally kill and rewrite the past, which works incredibly well with the cast of heroes, each burdened with their own deep regrets that they wish to put a bullet in, but probably not before they first eat a couple hundred bullets themselves on their desperate endeavor. This is another one that quickly finds itself in the A tier. Randomly generated galaxies, unfortunate accidents in deep space, and StarCraft management. Yep, it's FTL faster than light. If you're in for a strategy and management game meets roguelikes, well, FTL is just a damn classic. I love how this game can be going so smoothly one minute and very not smoothly the next. It's challenging, fun, and full of spaceship wreckages that are 100% your fault. This is another game that's been out for quite a while and is constantly mentioned when you talk of roguelites or just fun games to play in general, and with that in mind, it easily gets an A tier. What is there even to say about Hades? For me, it's personally my cream of the crop in the genre, and perhaps it will be for most of you watching too. Daddy Issues, the Greek underworld, a reimagined Greek pantheon, thirsty demons, an insanely fun suite of abilities, a perfectly integrated narrative, and an absolutely bonkers level of character and dialogue. I feel like I'm yet to exhaust the dialogue. I saw somewhere that there was like 30,000 plus unique lines, which is just crazy. And frankly, if you haven't already, just stop watching the video right now, go buy it and play it. It's easily an S tier, probably a number one, and I don't see it getting dethroned anytime soon. Inscription is a deck builder styled roguelike with more twists and turns than a damn snake having a seizure. Not only is it unique, but it has a really enthralling narrative to go along with its multiple acts. As far as keeping me guessing, this was one of the best amongst any game, and even if it does slightly teeter off towards the midway point, I definitely got to admit the first act is quite a bit stronger than some of the others. But even with that in mind, it's still easily finding itself up in the A tier. What a great game. Returnal is another bullet hell roguelike, but this time in third person. Released specifically for the PS5 back in 2021, it was my undisputed game of the year for that year as well. In this one, you play as Celine, who is trapped on a planet and forced to run a grisly gauntlet of tentacled Cthulhu-like beasts that blast energy balls at you like a button-mashing DBZ character in a fighter game. This game contains some absolutely unforgettable moments for me, along with possibly the single best usage of music I have ever heard in a boss fight. If you've played the game, maybe you know what I'm talking about in terms of Hyperion, that boss fight, the music and the organ. Oh my god. Anyway, now that it's on PC as well as PS5, you should definitely give it a crack, and it's easily getting an S tier. Dead Cells was the game that revived roguelikes for me personally, and holy smokes, I gotta get on that new Castlevania DLC immediately. It is the perfect midpoint between Metroidvanias and roguelikes that has a massive suite of weapons, abilities, and the perfect wall of enemies to throw them at. Not only is this game incredibly fun, it will offer you a pretty goddamn good challenge. I really thought I was good at it, and then I was promptly dispatched by a piece of sentient sewage sludge, and for that in mind, S for sewage. Sifu is a game all about throwing hands and any other object you can grab to dispatch rooms full of enemies in a kung fu Bruce Lee beat 'em up that to this day has handed me an ass whooping that I will never forget when it comes to its final boss. Seriously, that guy beat the hell out of me more than I would care to admit. In fact, courtesy of, I'm pretty sure, Elden Ring releasing immediately after it, I never beat him. So if you're looking for a challenge, maybe this is one for you. I love the age mechanic and the implications it carries on death, not to mention its fluid, flawless combo-styled combat system, but I will probably never go back for another playthrough unless I decide to maybe finally beat the last boss. And even though this game is incredible, it's gonna land at the top of the B tier, so damn close to an A though. Slay the Spire is probably undoubtedly the peak of deck building roguelikes that just has me coming back like it was a 3 a.m. kebab laced in crack cocaine. Building decks to climb the tower and overcome its denizens has given me tons of great times, even if I got beat down by the champ more than I would care to admit. Before I managed to clear my first run, honestly, this game was pretty damn challenging, and it's an S tier. I don't know what to say. Slay the Spire, keep slaying, S tier. Have a Nice Death is a game all about being the Grim Reaper in an afterlife office full of insubordinate co-workers that need a beating to be put back in line. I remember seeing the trailer for this game nestled amongst a very large showing of trailers, and this one was a standout. However, despite the game looking, feeling, and sounding awesome, I don't know what it is, but there's just something to it that just doesn't keep me there, and I don't really know what it is. So it's gonna land in the C tier, but I am definitely gonna go back and play that one again. Culinary disasters, overly picky customers giving you the flaming middle finger and the kiss of death that is a 1-star review on Yelp and a whole side plate of yelling at your partners. Yep, it's Plate Up. Similar to Overcooked, but with the roguelike addition of a constant restaurant that you can decorate and upgrade and then lose it all because you missed a plate on a table. I played this with my partner and had an absolute blast. It was honestly a really fun time, but it's definitely getting a C tier. God damn. Noita and I have a love-hate relationship. I hate this game, but I also love it, and it's getting a goddamn A tier immediately. The tech on this game alone is so damn impressive considering its PC melting physically simulated pixels along with the freedom and spell creation. Seriously, it's so damn cool. It's so cool, but man, I hate Noita, but I love it. It's have an A tier. I'm gonna be honest, I barely remember a thing about The Binding of Isaac other than a sad boy dying to flies, which made me a sad boy IRL. I haven't actually played Rebirth yet, so I can't really say much about that, but I mean, it's a damn classic. It's a trendsetter. It's probably the second most influential game after Rogue itself, but fuck those flies, have an A tier. You know, having just mentioned roguelikes, it's kind of impressive the amount of people that don't actually know where the name roguelike came from, and it all spawns back from this game that came out in the 1980s. Very old game where you dive into a bunch of dungeons to find an amulet. It's called Rogue, hence roguelike. And I feel like I didn't really even recently know that until myself. Or maybe I did and I just forgot. I don't know. The game came out in 1980s, but the more you know. Darkest Dungeon is another game that I have a love-hate relationship with. I was in a pretty average mood one day and I decided to stream this on Twitch, only to have my lovely adventurers mercilessly and systematically picked apart from the get-go, causing me to feel utterly defeated. I did eventually start to get a hang of the game, and even despite that, I still got utterly eviscerated. yeah, I just don't make very good decisions most of the time, turns out. But with that in mind, it is a really goddamn good roguelike, and you should definitely give it a go. It just lands short of the S tier, and it's getting a very, very high A tier. Crab Champions was a game that I thought was an April Fool's joke, and then it got released on April Fool's to make me look like more of a fool. Crab Rave came alive, got violent, and became a righteous good time, but it didn't really keep me for that long, despite it being incredibly fun. And for that reason, it's definitely a crab walking on into C tier. But there you have it. That's my final list for all of the roguelike games that I myself have played and am actually able to talk about. But feel free to yell at me if this list sucked, or if one of the games that you like didn't appear, and well, yell at me and tell me to play it. That would be a good start, thank you. I am aware that this list is definitely missing some really big roguelikes, some classics like Crypt of the Necrodancer, and, well, I haven't actually played Binding of Isaac Rebirth. That's probably a pretty good start. Let me know if you disagree, or if you agree. The list is pretty top-heavy. Turns out I've played quite a lot of good roguelikes. The secondary objective of this video is to help you find some that you might not have played already, so any game on this list is definitely worth your money. They're all really, really fun. And with that in mind, thank you so much for watching. I will see you back here again shortly.